Well, how many dragons
fighting
have
Satan.
you overcome in your life?
I'm not interested in dragons. I'm interested in reality.
Okay, so let's okay.
Whoa,
so
hey, buddy. Oh, he's about to knock the table over.
I read a book a while back that described the biological reality of the dragon. Say, well, there's no such thing as a dragon. It's like, okay, is there such a thing as a predator?
Of course.
Well, that's a meta category. What's the category of predator? Bear, eagle, if you're a primate. Fire? Is fire a predator?
No.
Well,
No.
it's complicated because a fire kills you.
And we all know that's the definition. That's the definition of predator. Is what's the defined predator? It kills you. That's it. Just so you know. Sometimes pianos that fall, and they're predators. Sometimes that's just. Oh my God. I don't know. I don't ask me. I don't know. We're gonna get into it. This is Jordan Peterson talking with Richard Dawkins, with Cosmic Skeptic dude back in the background there. We're gonna talk about it. I don't know. I'm Brantley. This is the Punk Apostate. Let's get into it.
So you're holding an invisible ball, right? Okay. Now what you do with this invisible...
The dragon fight story is explore the dangerous unknown, discover the treasure that revitalizes the community. There's no difference between that and the science that you practice. They're the same thing.
What do you think
It's
of that,
the
Richard?
same story.
I love Alex O'Connor back here, Cosmic Skeptic. He's like, all right, no, counterpoint, go. Counterpoint. He said there's no difference. There's no difference between the biology and the magical story of the dragon. I don't know. What did he say? Hold on. I'm sorry.
Unknown, discover the treasure that revitalizes the community. There's no difference between that and the science that you practice. They're the same thing.
What do you think of
The treasure. So I don't know. I feel like we cut it up. We should have. I need like a better video. Damn it.
It's the same story.
I don't know what to make of that. I mean, you say they're the same story. You've analogized the dragon fight to
Well, how many
fighting
dragons have
Satan.
you overcome in your life?
I'm not interested in dragons. I'm interested in reality.
Okay, so let's okay. So I read a book a while.
I love how excited he gets. Like he looks like he's just like, anytime that he's like challenged in the slightest, he just like jumps up and gets like super animated. It's just so weird, man. I don't think he's used. He reminds me of like some type of professor that was at his university, right? And he was just this type that would just keep on talking, right? And so nobody challenged him because they knew the can of worms that shit would be if they did, so they never pushed back. And then he just went off into the world thinking all his thoughts are fucking awesome, right? Because it's just any time that nobody pushes back, he just gets to think anything he wants and say it out loud, and nobody ever says anything about it. And then he gets famous, and then now he's trying to talk to people. It's just like he gets,
What do you mean? Of course a dragon is the same thing as biology.
Back that described the
what was that little oh, describe the
biological reality of the dragon. Say, well, there's no such thing as a dragon. It's like, okay, is there such a thing as a predator?
Of course.
Well, that's
Well, hello.
a meta category. What's the category of predator? Bear, eagle, if you're a primate. Fire? Is fire a predator?
No.
Well, it's
I like Richard Dawkins, and I hate that I have to be on his side about something. Let me just throw that out there, because I don't like any of these people. Just to be completely fucking Alex O'Connor, I don't like the least. Yeah, I think I said that right. I don't like him the least out of everybody. Anyway, but yeah, but Richard Dawkins, no, of course not. What are you trying to say here?
it's complicated because a fire kills you. Okay, so is there a
That's very complicated.
worse predator than serpentine, flying, fire-breathing reptile?
the fuck are you? No, because that's not real, man. Like,
Is that not the imagistic equivalent of predator?
no, what the fuck are you talking about? Dude, a predator can be a fucking insect as long as it eats other insects, right? Like that's okay.
So in what way, if predator is real, in what way isn't dragon real? It doesn't take that much imagination to see the identity. And then wouldn't the fundamental task of edible primates be to figure out how to overcome the dragon forever?
I'm so curious as to like what's going on in Cosmic Skeptic's mind right now. Like he's just like, anyway, what am I doing here? Why did I do this? This was bad. I'm gonna have to retool all my decisions to be right out. This is absurd.
I don't know why you say dragon. I mean, we have lions, we have tigers, we have saber-tooths, we have
Why not
tyrannosaurs
abstract?
out there.
Right, but why not abstract? Because it's for the same reason that we have the term predator. Like we have the term bear, lion, Komodo dragon. Well, you make an amalgamation, you say, well, the relevant set of features is an image. Well, what's the image?
How do we always get back to like,
Okay, here's what words are for. So you have categories and subcategories, and then you
like why do we get back to like how fucking language works? What are you talking about, dude? It's like, I swear this guy's completely lost it. Like he's just like his mind is just falling out of his fucking head. And again, he's just thinks he's so smart because he has like an army of right-wing weirdos that will just defend any stupid fucking thing that falls out of his face. But whatever. Oh my God, so weird.
Predator as such. What's the image of that? The dragon that never disappears. And then there's a twist on
The dragon, the one that never disappeared. Now, I mean, we know there's a lot of disappearing dragons like that. Pete's dragon. We're not talking about Pete's dragon. That one disappeared. We're talking about the one, not the one in the garage, not Carl Sagan's either. Okay, I know that one's invisible as well. That one doesn't disappear. It just is always not visible because of the nature of not being able to test for it. It's a whole thing. But
that, which is so cool. It's so interesting because you can imagine rabbit mythology, which would be something like predator appears, freeze. But that's not the human story. The human story is predator appears, there's a treasure somewhere.
What, man? What?
It's like the human story is there's a dragon, treasure. Okay, hey, right? It's like the Goonies. Have you ever seen the Goonies? That minus the dragon. But
What the fuck are you doing, man? What are you talking? Like that's the human story? Is there's treasure somewhere? What? How?
Right, that's a completely different.
Dude, this guy he sounds like he's like he got loose from a psychiatric ward somewhere, man. Like he is just off of it, man. Holy shit. And keep in mind, he's a clinical psychologist, right? Like that's his field. I feel like he went through his whole like doctorate or whatever to become a psychiatrist or psychologist, clinical psychologist, which is what he has his degree in, or had. It's been removed. I can kind of see why, because he's an idiot. But he went through that whole thing with his clinical side. And I feel like the whole time it's like,
man, I should have been a philosopher. I'm so much better at that. You can just make stuff up when you're a philosopher.
Pathway of evolutionary significance, like the way that we construe the world isn't freeze like predator. It's like, oh, there's a predator. Maybe there's something valuable lurking in our conflict with it.
what? He's like, oh, there's a predator. Hold on. There might be treasure somewhere. Okay. That's the human story. Just out there. Okay.
You know, our sticks and our
No, I don't know. Nobody knows. No, just stop asking that question because I'm going to stop you every fucking time to be like, nope. Me nor nobody nor everybody else does not know what you're talking about.
spears that enable our fragile bodies to stand up against the dragons of
He just looks so like, what the fuck am I doing, man? Why did I do this? I got all dressed up for this.
the world.
So a dragon is a pictorial representation of the abstracted concept of a predator.
Yes.
As you say, we already have the term predator. And so it might be useful in art, in narrative, I mean, you can't paint an abstraction.
We had the image way before we had the word.
Sure, okay.
But
What the fuck? What does that have to do? You had the abstraction before we had the words.
People were drawing pictures before they said words. Yeah, okay, we could talk about that too, Jordy, buddy. Okay, but we were talking about something different. Okay.
That's a seriously important thing to understand.
But now we have the word. We have the word predator, and maybe if
It's really not, though. It's really not very important.
we were doing art, maybe if we were all going to sort of draw a picture or tell a story, and we wanted to invent a story to give our children a good moral message, we might invent this dragon or use this dragon as
Well, we do. All
God, he's trying so hard. Like, he's trying so hard to, like, be like, this is not insane what you're saying. I am going to tie this into anything that's relevant to whatever the fuck we were talking. I don't know as if we were talking about what the fuck were we talking about before we got a goddamn dragons? Holy shit.
always. We
Sure.
do it continually.
Exactly, we do.
We do it with Harry Potter.
But-
we do it with the Lord of the Rings. We do it with the Avengers.
when you
there's no
say-
escaping from
But
it.
when you say
What? Okay.
the biology of a dragon, you must understand how that can be misleading as to the enterprise that you're engaging in, because we're talking here about narrative, we're talking here about art, we're talking here about representations in
I
literature.
don't
I'm not talking about biology when it comes to fucking dragons, man, because it's
think the category of dragon is any less valid than the category of lion.
Any less biological?
what?
Well, it depends on your level of analysis.
No, it depends if you're talking insane or like if you're, talking about insane shit or not, right? If you're trying to say that they're saying like it's just as valid, it literally like in what way? I swear to God, he like changes the context. Everything's an equivocation with this dude. Like he's just constantly jumping back and forth between definitions and contexts and stuff. That way he can always evade any kind of fucking criticism, it seems, because he can just be,
Oh, that's not what I meant. I was talking about valid in the sense of his story. That was
We have the term predator, which implies that all predators have something in common, because otherwise we wouldn't have the term. It's like there's no reason to.
the term implies that all predators have something in common. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the term. What do you do? Like, again, we're back to words and what words mean. He's like,
and words like all mean there's a particular definition for that word, and that word describes what that definition is. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you describing what terms mean?
to assume ontological priority for the category of lion over the category of predator. Like it depends on all that would determine which of those terms should be used is the purpose towards which the conceptualization is being directed.
oh my fucking God. Like, how can someone, it's crazy that somebody so stupid can like use words that people, it's like, no wonder he's the stupid person, smart person. You know what I mean? He's the guy that like stupid people hold up. That guy is really smart because listen to the words that he's using. He said conceptually, like I say, he had a whole string of like really intellectual sounding words. But it's like, if you actually understand what those words mean and you're just like listening to them, you're like, yeah, but they don't mean anything. They're just complete nonsense. And everything he thinks he's trying to say, he's confusing the hell out of like, and it's not because he's smarter. It's because he's saying shit that's fucking incoherent. And you got two people here that are, like, again, I don't want to have to agree with it, but like Dawkins is like an actual intellectual. He's like an actual biologist and everything. I get that he's not a philosopher and shit, but I don't even know as if like actual philosophy people would be cool with Jordan Peterson. I don't know. I feel like he comes off as a pseudo philosophical scholar or whatever, but like, I don't know. But they're just sitting there perplexed. You know, they're like, I don't even know how to engage with this. This is like talking to the fucking bus stop guy that goes off about how the reptilian humanoid, whatever the hell are running the fucking Illuminati that's controlling the world. And you're just like, yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, no, I guess we could talk about that later. When does your bus come again? Is it? Oh my God, I'm gonna stand and wait in the back. No, I'm gonna take a phone call. Hello, nobody. Hey,
Look, if you want to identify a particular class of predator, well, then lion is a good term.
You would say that lions are an instantiation of this bracket term of predator.
Well, and I would also say,
Would you
look,
therefore
Dragon's better. I like dragon. Yeah, because they breathe fire, and fire in itself can be a predator because predator just mean kills you. I nailed it.
he's got a little nailed it guy in his head. Just like,
Nailed it. I am so good. Man, did you hear that? Wow.
say that a lion is an instantiation of the bracket term of dragon?
yes. Yes, because See, because
he's just like, I got nothing. I don't know what to do. Wow. Okay. So he just went and said the thing. So nobody's saying anything that has anything to do with reality anymore. But glad that you're here, Jordy. This is great. How's everybody doing? Y'all feeling all right? Doing okay? It's Sunday, right? That's what, the first weekend of the new year, right? Liking the new year so far. It's all right. Yeah. But let's see who won. Who won today? Logan won. What's up, dude? Fuck. That's what he said. Fuck. That's how I always imagine. That's how I said. And Jazula said, woohoo. And let's end top tester said, hello, everyone. I hope all is well. Very low key compared to the past other two people. I feel like you need to hype it up. Maybe drink some caffeine or something, man. Okay. This is actually a fun show. This isn't just like being all like way too calm about this. Okay. I need some exclamation points. All right. Some screaming, some woohoo. Just kidding. You're fine. You know, all right. And Amber knows what's going on. He's like, Dawkins! Like, that's she's got it. I think she's screaming that name for different reasons, but I either way, I approve. Since I'm looking for that excitement in the crowd. I don't know. That's the way I picture it. I picture a crowd. Anyway, how we doing? Let's see. What? Danny Garden said, this guy needs to visit a visit to the hinge section of a hardware store. You're right. Yeah. Oh, did I use the term incorrectly on the top of the video? If you look right up here, yeah, it says the name of the video. Did I use the term incorrectly? I'm sorry. I'm not I don't have dictionaries memorized or anything like that. But I guess we can just make everything mean other things if we're like Jordan Peterson. So you're like, I can do whatever I want. Unhinged can I actually mean suspension bridge if if you think about it, or or think about it the way this guy would, So
we're not only fact-oriented creatures, right? It actually matters to us whether we get eaten. Like it's one thing to
we're not fact-oriented creatures. Well, you certainly aren't, sir. Holy shit.
Out the nomenclature of the animal kingdom, but it's another thing to remember.
Nomenclature? Is that what he just said? It's nomenclature. Okay, it's a long. Never mind.
That predators can eat you, and then it's another thing, and this is very interesting.
Sorry, I keep talking over. Let me go back.
Yes, because because we're not only fact-oriented creatures, right? It actually matters to us whether we get eaten. Like it's one thing to lay out the.
Unlike everything else that could potentially get eaten, they don't care. Other stuff that gets eaten, they're fine with it. But it's humans that we care if we get eaten or not. But fish and stuff, they're like, whatever, I'm kind of indifferent about the matter. Sharks are meh. They're just meh. Sometimes they eat you, sometimes they don't. Once you got to do it,
Nomenclature of the animal kingdom, but it's another thing to remember that predators can eat you. And then it's another thing, and this is very interesting, and it's relevant to that.
It's not. None of this, neither. It's not interesting nor relevant, but keep going, I guess.
That story of the bronze serpent. It's like, what do we want to teach our children? Well, to identify predators, obviously. Well,
so dragons, you need to tell the kids about the dragons that include fire. Again,
do we want to teach them more profoundly? What attitude they should take towards the eternal fact of the predator? And the attitude they should take is something like the courage to voluntarily confront, and not to run away, and not to hide, and not to freeze.
What the fuck are you saying, dude? So like, as long as talking, all right. I feel like he always forgets what we're actually talking about here. We were talking about the biology of a dragon, and the dragon being as real as the biological facts that Richard Dawkins studies. That's the context in which what the fuck ever this is he is talking about. So now he's moved on from in defense of his position that the dragons existing, or the concept of dragons, is as real as biological facts or whatever. He's saying, what do we want to teach our kids? We want to teach them that predators equal bad, and that's it. That's all I've gotten, I feel like, out of this so far.
And not to casually demonize. But to assume that in the
No, they're super bad. I'm sorry. They're extra bad.
combat with the
Not casually bad. Extra super bad.
eternal predator, an eternal treasure might be found. And that's exactly what you do, whether you know it or not.
Now we're on the treasure again. I don't know how treasure comes in this. So like, so kiddos too. Also, when you're avoiding predators, treasure or something, it's relevant to think it somehow.
When you teach a child to be courageous, and we know from the psychological literature that generalizes. And I do think it's identical with the mechanism of learning in human beings, because kids, we always learn on the edge. You know, in your own life, you know.
Why is everybody letting him talk this long? Like, guys, hey, moderator, relevance, hello, objection, relevance. What the fuck is?
And I don't want to be presumptuous, but
do you want to be coherent? Could you be that? Could you do that for us?
No doubt there have been situations where you've been battling
with the treasure, or I'm sorry, no, he's battling the dragon
to have your
for the treasure. I'm sorry.
Ideas distributed, even to modify your own conceptions when you had something new to learn. That's a sacrifice. You have to kill your stupidity so that you can move forward. That's what happens in the story of Abraham, by the way, when he makes sequential sacrifices.
I'm so surprised that this is the first time that we've encountered the bus stop guy in the comments, given how often I bring him up. But I appreciate it. I'm here for it. Hello, bus stop guy. How you doing? When did you get here? we were talking the other day. Remember about the reptilian humanoids that you said rule the government. It's great. No, it's really coherent stuff. Let's see. But the bus stop guy said, you know what time the bus to Memphis gets here? No, I don't. But it's what's going on in Memphis. You into music? I hear that's like a big music type of place. You know, that's apparently I haven't been there, but that's what I hear. And then the other one he said, I like to get eaten. I knew a girl. I don't really know what to do with that. You talk about the reptilian humanoids? Do you got a girl reptilian humanoid ate you? Because I thought they only ate gold, and specifically monatomic gold, which is its own kind of gold, because whoever discussed that kind of gold doesn't understand how base elements work. But anyway, yeah. What are the rest of y'all doing? Where we got here? Oh, top test. What's up, dude? Logan, it's saying hi to everybody. All right. Logan said, one day I'll be invincible to drowning too. Too much plastic to sink. Oh, I see what you say. Yeah, eventually that the trash island will just be the whole ocean. It'll actually be convenient at some point, because then we can just walk. We won't have an ocean. We'll just be able to walk everywhere. It'll just be like kind of moist or goist. Actually, it'll be kind of goist trash that you can just walk on planet wide. There's no oceans anymore, and it'll definitely give us more room to do stuff. So I think it'll pay off. Blood Badger, what's up, dude? The dragons do exist. Look at dragonflies, okay? Bearded dragons and Komodo dragons. Okay, yeah. See, no, you're right. I never thought of it that way. So as long as we're just talking about the word that can be describing other things, one of which is a fly, or a type of fly. That is not actually a fly. But anyway, but yeah, no, you're right. Those kind of dragons do exist, I guess, and biologically exist. So I guess because all of this is relevant. Everything he's saying is not completely fucking insane.
So in the story of Abraham, you tell me what you think about this, because it staggered me when I understood it.
The story of him trying to take out his own kid because he thought a magic asked him to. And then Christians literally think that's a beautiful story of love. Not for his kid, but for the God that he thought maybe told him to kill his kid. Yeah, that's great. It's a beautiful story.
Abraham is a protected person. He doesn't have to lift a finger. He lives in the socialist utopia. He's got everything delivered hand to mouth. He's at home till he's 70. And God comes to him as the voice of adventure.
I don't think he knows what social, but
which is something remarkable to see, and says, you leave your zone of comfort and go out into the world. have your terrible adventure. And Abraham says yes. And then a series of cataclysms occurs around him, just like it does in every adventurous life. And every time an episode concludes, he makes a sacrifice. Why? To get rid of what's stupid and old about him, so that he can progress and transform.
It's stupid and old. It's freaking stupid. It's stupid and old. But he's getting rid of it. The sacrifice, stupid and old.
And that happens to such a degree that he gets a new name, which means he's changed so dramatically he's not even the person he used to be.
Holy shit,
that's a
dude. You could literally do this with anything, man. It doesn't matter what fucking story. I could find this kind of like depth or whatever in a Dune story or something, or in a fucking comic book. Who cares, man? You're just finding you're just making up deepities out of just nothing. You know, it's so sad. Like, and then you act like that's something that needs to be said in a setting that's like this, where you're actually talking to a fucking biologist. Like, it's just so insane.
Consequence of following that adventurous pathway. And that's all coded in the story.
It's not.
I think we just have to agree that we have different kinds of minds, and you're interested in symbols, and I'm interested in facts. I mean, let's take predators. I mean, predators, I'm fascinated by predators. Predators are the relationship between predators and prey is an arms race, an evolutionary arms race. And whenever you see a really complicated, beautifully designed piece of biology,
oh man, I know that we'll keep an eye out for the Ray Comfort video, because he used the word designed there. But yeah,
whom I think one of Hume's characters called things that ravish into admiration, or who contemplate them. This is almost certainly the result of an arms race, probably between predators and prey. It could be between parasites and hosts.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we are talking about adaptations to just the climate, woolly rhinoceroses grow hair because it's getting cold. That's relatively boring.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's an adaptation to a predator, then you get an escalation of adaptations by prey, which are countered by predators, which are countered by prey, countered by prey. So you get a gradual escalation. Now that's interesting. That explains why you have animals that run fast, why they have keen sense organs, why they have teeth, why they have sharp teeth, why they have behavior patterns that either protect them from predators, or if they're predators, help them to catch prey. The idea of the arms race.
okay, I feel like now he's like, I want to play. I want to do this thing where I can just keep going. But I mean, at least he's saying stuff that's somewhat pertinent to like the conversation here. He's not like going off on nothing. But I mean, I guess he's just saying like, I think this is interesting, and this is what's interesting about predators. And now I'm just going to go off about what I think is interesting about the evolutionary traits of predators and how they've developed and stuff. Okay, yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting. I just call it an arms race. I guess that is kind of philosophical there. Like, it's kind of interesting way to look at it. But
Is the thing that grabs me, the arms race between, nothing to do with dragons and mythology.
Fair enough.
that's what he was saying. Hold on, let's look how fucking animated he gets. He's like, nothing to do with dragons in that matter.
Well, hold on. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay.
The idea of the arms race is the thing that grabs me, the arms race between, nothing to do with dragons and mythology.
Fair enough, right? And I share your appreciation for that remarkable, the remarkable phenomena that emerge in consequence of that. Okay, so let's take the idea of arms race. All right, so here's how I would construe what I said in what I think might be your terms.
Okay.
All right, we transformed the battle with the predator into a meme battle. We abstracted it so that we could figure out how to deal not with a predator, but with the class of all possible predators. Right, exactly. And the appropriate way.
Did you just write exactly yourself? Hold on. Are there multiple U's in there? Are you like, pretty soon he's gonna be high-fiving?
Right? Yeah, totally. High five. That's what I was saying. I'm awesome, by the way. I just want, just saying. I'm pretty great.
way to deal with the class of all possible predators is something like a meta-ethic. It's a stance that, let me give you an example of this. We actually know something about this psychophysiologically, and you can look at it spiritually or physically, and it doesn't matter. So, for example, if you take people in psychotherapy and they're
He's got a. I didn't see his tie. He's got a DNA tie. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Let's gotta check that out. If I wore ties, I would do that. Every so often, I do too. You know, but you got to do it like real loose and everything. You wear like a collared shirt, but it's got like a worker shirt. You know, like from an auto mechanic shop or whatever, and then you put a tie. It's a type of punk that like looks pretty, and usually got like the thick frame glasses that go. It's the whole look anyway. But it's not. I don't usually sport that look, but every so often, you know, and I gotta look like business casual. I'll go with that.
accidentally exposed to something they're afraid of, they have a stress response that's damaging if it's sustained, and they become more frightened. But if you expose them
They have
to
a stress response that's damaged if it's sustained.
exactly the same stressor, and they do it voluntarily, they manifest an entirely
Right.
different pattern of psychophysiological activation.
What's up?
Okay, and it's a stance of challenge, right, and not of fear. All right, and so one of the things that you're doing in psychotherapy when you get people to expose themselves to, you could say, predators, because that's an accurate way of dealing with it, is that you get them to shift into a mode of voluntary confrontation instead of prey-like apprehension and retreat. And what they learn
Is he saying that people in the psychologist is the predator in this in this context? So now he's altering the definition. Hold on, let me back up. I feel like I got to do this a lot with Jordan Peterson because I got to make sure that I'm hearing the words right.
because that's an accurate way of dealing with it. Is
Hold on.
all right. And so one of the things that you're doing in psychotherapy when you get people to expose themselves to, you could say, predators, because that's an accurate way of dealing with it.
When you get people to expose, like the psychotherapist is trying to get people to expose themselves to predators.
Is that you get them to shift into a mode of voluntary confrontation instead of prey-like apprehension and retreat.
You're trying to get them you're trying to get them to put themselves in a position of confrontation with a predator. Why would you do that? Instead of retreat? What is happening? I'm so confused by this.
And what they learn from that is that they can embody that pattern, which I would call a spirit metaphysically. They can embody that. They can practice it. It's also the case there's some
the spirit of like being in a conflict with a predator is a spirit because it's a metaphysical. See what I mean? Like, it's like if you actually listen to what he's actually saying, it's not anything that actually means anything.
evidence that there's epigenetic consequences of that. If you
Look at it. It's like, oh dear Lord, I don't know what I am even doing here. Oh my God. I trimmed my mustache to perfection for this.
practice that process of voluntary confrontation with the terrible unknown, it can catalyze transformations that reach all the way down into the cellular. And so we
None of this
abstracted the fight with the predator
Oh
into
my
the
God.
imaginal space. We play out various tactics. Some of them are conserved and transmitted. They adapt themselves to the structure of human memory, and they make the foundation for our most fundamental narratives. Look, you know, the reference I made to Harry Potter, the reference I made to the Lord of the Rings and to the Avengers, these aren't casual references.
They kind of are, man. They're literally casual references.
You know, we spend most of our computational, high-end computational power generating fictional worlds where we can portray meme battles so that everyone can observe them.
Yes. So,
So-
like,
Yeah, whatever you're saying. Anyway, back to the fucking not insanity. Dawkins, what you got? What you got with the not craziness thing? Just anything cogent or coherent at this point. I don't care. Just tell me. If you want to just say 2 + 2 is 4, that'd be great. I feel like it would center me at this point. Just say anything that's not fucking insane. Let's do that.
lion as genetic, dragon as mimetic. Richard, this concept of the dragon as the abstracted predator as a whole, can we talk meaningfully about
No, you can't.
the truth in these stories where instead of talking about a predator or this predator or that predator, we're talking about the concept of
The
predators as a
dragon's a
whole.
meme.
Yes.
Dragon's a meme.
He's like, yeah, you know that thing that you made up, the meme thing? A dragon's that. It's just a meme. Okay, it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a deep meme.
A deep
The dragon fight story is
Oh my god. Wow, that was just fucking insane. I thought it went on longer than that. Holy shit. What the fuck was any of that? Oh my god. So yeah, that was wait, where was that? I had a couple I wanted to watch here. Let's see, let's do this one. Poetry. Hold on. Do you believe Jesus died for our sins? Richard Dawkins confronts Jordan Peterson.
don't claim to understand. What my
So, well, let me enlarge that. But yeah. So what do y'all think about that? Dragons? Yes. Right? They exist just like a biological reality because it's a meme. Just like biological memes are real. So there's memes about biology. Have you ever been on Facebook? You just got to go on one of those science pages, right? And they got all sorts of memes, right? About biology and other stuff like that. So it all makes sense if you don't think about it at all. But yeah, what do you all got here? Michael, what's up, dude? So I think that Jordan Peterson screams, thinking that will make the people believe. Wait, what? He said, I think Jordan Peterson screams thinking that will be. I got you. Okay, so the screaming is what that really gets it in the brain. There is when they shout at you, when really they just don't really want to fuck with. They're just like, okay, I'm not going to push back on that because he's getting quite excited. Right? We don't want to have to pull out the rubber room again because the last time he damaged the walls. He kept biting them, right? He kept biting them and peeling the stuff back. And then then we had to get a whole new rubber room. And it was just a mess. It was good. And it was all just because we didn't put the Hannibal Lecter thing on his face like we should have. I was trying to say that. And nobody wanted, of course, listen to me, but whatever. So now they got to get a new rubber room. And I'm just lost on that whole little thing over here. What are you guys talking about? Tuned in tight. What's going on? I was never a JP fan. Not ever. Yeah. No, I was never any of these people's fan. Like to be honest, like the only person that I could say I honestly was a fan of at one point was Cosmic Skeptic or whatever, right? Like Alex O'Connor, he was cool. He did a lot of skepticism videos and stuff like that. And then he kind of just, I guess he just reached a certain point where he had like access to all the really big timers and sort of went just skyrocketed from there. Yeah, I don't know. And he just kind of, I don't really know if I feel like enough about like what he actually believes about things. It just seems to be like, I just know he's a skeptic. I don't even know if I know where he lands politically on anything, but like I said, don't really watch him too often, but definitely not a fan of Dawkins. I missed that. I was too late for that whole thing. Like new atheism was old by the time I got to it. You know what I mean? Because it was like I'm like 10 years, not even like 8 or 7, maybe 7 years. I don't know. It's not been that long since I've been an atheist doing this, So I missed that whole new atheism thing. So as far as I understood, Dawkins was always kind of shitty. And then became much worse and worse and worse, and has gotten to the point now where he's just really shitty, and he seems to be being used by Christians to be, anti-Muslims or whatever, because they're like, look, even the new atheist hates Muslims too, so even they're saying it, It's like, because he had to do the whole culturally Christian thing. But well, let's see if not a meme. Your mom is a your mom is a meme. Yeah, stake that in your face and smoke it. Smoke your own face with your face. Yeah, do that. Put that in a meme, bitch. Like I said, you can't justify anything. Wait, if you can't justify anything existed 300 years ago, how can you justify anything existing yesterday or earlier today? Are you even real outside the current moment? That's it's an interesting way to think about things. We can't, we're probably just a brain in the vat being fed information. I'm the only brain that exists, by the way. Okay. Y'all just are figments of my imagination. And because nobody can prove otherwise, I'm just gonna decide that that's true. Okay. And prove that's not true. Prove you exist truly. Then I'll change. So Deep State said, hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. So far, so good. Yeah. Just kind of hanging out, doing one of these Jordan Peterson things where I always feel like I'm hearing my own thoughts just rammed up their own ass over and over and over again until it gets to some kind of meaningful nothing that might have coherently presented from a flux capacitation of a metaphysical substrate that has decomposed, as it were, if you will, per se, into a meta-analysis of a subset of digressions that do implode as they recede back to the... Anyway, what are you guys? Anyway, so it's just saying, oh, Deep State was saying, "Hey, hope everybody's doing good." Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. That was the point of that. But how are you? What about the sequel? What's up, dude? Hey, the sequel is here. He said, let's see, what is what? What is what is words? What are words?
I mean, really, if you think about it, what are words? What are they used for? Okay, well, they are vocal vibrations that come out of the one of 5 or 6 holes on our face, and they communicate thoughts and emotions to other people. The metaphorical substrate is the...
Okay, all right, I'm done. I'm sorry. I get caught up in that. Look at the tree said, this is a fart sniffing roundtable. And that's like exactly what was it, Jake? Jake always likes to say that. It's like they're sniffing their own farts. I don't feel like I understand the metaphor with the fart sniffing thing. But it's it paints a picture. That's it. It paints a picture. I don't know if I'm getting the right thing from it though. Maybe I feel like there's probably some kind of other communication I should be getting from that picture. And it's just it just kind of bothers. Anyway, it's kind of I just get stuck on the smell and anyway. But what is that supposed to mean? Is that just mean like they're just like talking about how great each other is? Is that what the fart sniffing? I don't get it. I don't understand what the whole concept of that is. Hey, Ecclesia, what's up? So, love me some metaphysical, I'm sorry, substrate. I feel like he said both. That's why I tend to go back and forth with that, because I don't think he keeps track of which one he's talking about. And they're just interchangeable, you can just swap them out. But Sons of Mice said, if Brentley is the only brain, then this chat is evidence that he is a very sick puppy. And that's right. I mean, I feel like that's as obvious through any kind of just watching my show for any amount of time. Actually, that's the most obvious. Brother, like, oh my God, this guy's unhinged. Yeah, he is not well. That guy is crazy. He needs to take more or less medication. I'm not quite sure which direction to go with it. But what it should be one of those two directions, though, either more medication or less. But he needs something that needs to happen here with medication. That's the take home here, really. But who is this? Ordo Erroris. Right, that's pretty cool. So it sounds like it's Greek or something. Is that Greek? I don't know. He said Peterson just wants to pretend biology is art in narrative. Yeah, basically. Well, I mean, I think he just, because that gives him permission to just sort of like sidestep literally everything, right? He can always just jump into metaphors, right? That's when it took, I can't remember. Well, we might get into it with this one because he talks about like, do you believe Jesus died for our sins? And it took him so long to admit that it's not real, because it's not actually true. It's just
metaphorically, it's true if you think about it.
And it's like, but anytime anybody like actually goes, yeah, but did a man
come back to fucking life or not? You know, he's like, well, no, maybe, I don't know. Like it's, you know, because he doesn't want to say that it's actually true, factually accurate. He wants to say, well, it's true in a way that, you know, Star Wars is true because good always fights evil. And it's just, you know, but it's a way to just retreat into the land of metaphors to like still sound like you know what you're talking about, but really it's just a big waste of everybody's fucking time. And it's again just making him feel good about himself, I guess, because he's outthought you because of look at all the connections. It ends up just sounding like some fucking Illuminati person that just finds all those connections and everything. You know what I mean? Jesus, it's crazy.
Experience has been that the more deeply I look into these texts, the more I learned. That doesn't mean that I can proclaim full knowledge of what the texts proclaim. But I don't think,
See?
and I'm not trying to play a trick here, you know.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Y-A-Y-A-R. Yeah, you are. Okay.
I watched an interview that you did recently where you were talking, I think it was with Piers Morgan, yeah, about the complexities of trying to understand this strange realm of quantum phenomena, right? And we have a trouble with quantum phenomena because
Quantum phenomena. What do you think about that? Where's that on your word salad, right? It's like, is that that's the croutons of the word salad right there, right? You know, it's a Greek word salad, but
at the micro level, things don't act like things act at the macro level. So they escape our intuitions. And one of the things you said was that although it's perhaps even impossible for creatures embodied like us to get a grip on quantum phenomena, the
for
strange
preacher, did he just say that he's a preacher? What did he say? Hold on.
was that although it's perhaps even impossible for creatures embodied like us to
Creatures. I'm sorry. I misheard him there. I thought he said preachers.
get a grip on quantum phenomena, the strange wave particle duality, for example, we have ample evidence that it works and stellarly. And I would say exactly the same thing about the biblical text.
Or it's the alien. The alien. No, wait. Damn, I lost it. You know what I'm talking. Marvin, the Martian.
Is they run into a mystery, like there's a horizon of mystery, which I do not claim to penetrate, but insofar as I've been able to understand the text, every time I make a improvement in understanding, it reveals something to me that's
the verdict isn't in yet. It's yes and no. But it metaphorically, like ontologically, on the metaphorical physical substrate, yes, right, because of the metaphor that they are that is utilized when describing predators just in general. Yeah. So yeah, he does believe in them, but on an epistemological level, no, because they don't have anything to do with epistemology at all. I mean, unless we're talking about the dragon in the garage, which is that's a whole different dragon. Okay, whole different beast. All right, that we're dealing with there.
it's just like shattering.
Quantum physics is deeply mysterious, and you're saying that biblical texts are deeply mysterious. The difference is quantum physics, the predictions you derive from quantum physics are fulfilled to the umpteenth decimal place. The umpteenth decimal place, I mean, I think it was Richard Feynman says, equivalent to predicting the width of North America to the nearest hair's breadth. Now,
Right.
that's impressive. That's
No doubt.
the mystery there, as it were, gains its credentials by its predictions. The mysteries of the Bible don't have any credentials at all, as far as I can make out.
Well, I guess the credentials that I would put.
Oh, he's going to jump. He's going to jump. He's moving. You know, you've slightly disagreed with him. Now he has to move all over in his seat. Now he's got to get, you know.
You made a statement a couple of months ago that I found very interesting. And I don't claim to understand it, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot with it. You said that you were a cultural Christian.
Oh, there
Okay,
you
and so
go.
that raised a number of questions in my mind.
See, you said that you don't like Muslim culture either. So, yeah.
You know, and the first question was,
You are changing the subject. You're
no, I'm not. No, I don't think so. I may be
Objection, relevance.
leaping outside of the topic a bit to
We
get
can
back to
do
it.
cultural Christianity, but I think I have a list of questions that you wanted to ask, and that is one of them. But I
Well,
think Professor Dawkins did
you
ask
were
you.
referring to the predictive power.
Like we're trying to stay on a thing that we're actually talking about. Jordy, buddy. Oh, hey, where'd he go? He's off playing with the blocks again. God, can we get?
And to the utility of the
Somebody get this guy a Xanax. Sorry, no, not a Xanax. This Ritalin, the opposite of Xanax. Just get him something.
Yeah,
stories.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's actually what I was trying to
Okay,
zero in
fine.
on.
Go ahead.
Okay, so that was the point. Well, it seemed to me that your proclamation that you were a cultural Christian was a recognition and a statement that you had found something in the culture that had been derived from Christianity that you had an affinity with, and that there's some reason for that. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, well, what do you think that Christianity got right that allows you to make a statement like that? I mean,
It's just that this is such a post hoc. Okay. It didn't get anything right. It just happened to be the belief that was the most popular one where he was raised, and so he happens to be okay with the holidays and shit that are associated with that religion because it's the most popular religion in that space. And he was trying to say that he wouldn't want like Islam or whatever to take over because he doesn't like that religion. Like that was the context in which he was saying this shit. So whatever, man. Like
I know that there's differences perhaps in what we both think about the ultimate veracity of the biblical stories. Maybe there isn't
the ultimate veracity.
differences. Like
Okay.
it would take a lot of conversation to figure this out. But what did you mean by that? Like, what do you think that Christianity got?
Well, what about you? You like Christianity. You did. You said, okay. So, don't come at me. Don't come at me. You said.
Right, that would enable you to make a statement like that?
Virtually nothing. I meant by that no more than that I'm brought up in a Christian culture. I went to Christian schools. I therefore know my way around the Bible. I know my way around the Book of Common Prayer. I know the hymns. That's all. I don't value Christianity as a truth system at all.
Okay, so let me ask you about that, because maybe that's true and perhaps it's not.
Wait, what do you mean maybe that's true? You asked him a question about what he meant, and now you're going to tell him that,
Well, maybe what you just said is true about how you describe.
like, he was just describing something about himself. Like, of course, what, you think he's lying about that?
Not. So the first question is, like, do you think that there are any marked differences between cultural traditions that would enable you to rank order them in terms of their ethical validity?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so for example, we could contrast mainstream UK Christianity with Islamic fundamentalism.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a hierarchy.
There is a hierarchy.
Okay, a hierarchy that points to what?
Well, in the case of Islam,
a magical being that's also an undead carpenter ghost, obviously. I mean, this anytime we have a hierarchy, it's always going to lead up to the magical being that's an undead carpenter ghost that lives inside of you that you got to cannibalize so you don't forget them. People forget people if you don't pretend to eat them. So you got, it's just, that's an archetype. Okay, we all just know the archetype of like having to, in order to remember somebody, you got to pretend to eat them. It's just the whole thing. But
I dislike any religion which punishes apostasy with death, that throws gay people off high buildings, that practices clitoridectomy. That seems to me to place Islam on a lower level than Christianity, but that's not to say anything very positive about Christianity.
Well, it might be to say something positive about.
on you, that's I was talking about on, like when I was saying the piano, I was saying it falls on you. You're who I was talking about with the piano falling on who. That's clearly what the question you're asking. I'm just trying to answer the question that you asked.
Christianity. Like, I think that question is open because you might ask yourself.
It was kind of an open question. That's true. It's an on who. And so I kind of had to just go with what I thought maybe, my subjective interpretation of like what the question was that they were asking, which is clearly, I think that like, who the piano was falling on. You. I was talking about you, man. So just so you know, that's what I'm talking about.
What did Christianity get right that led it away from those particular presumptions and towards something that you regard as more ethically appropriate? Like, this isn't a trivial question.
It's a very modest claim. There's not very much. I mean, to be better than a religion that throws gay people.
Yeah, look, I was literally just saying bad things about Islam. That's all I was doing. I was shitting on Islam. That's all I was trying to do. I feel like you're trying to make this into something else. No, it's not what it was. I'm just I'm just Islamophobic. That's all that was about.
People off high buildings is not really a very virtuous achievement. So,
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, because if you look at the barbarism that characterizes the human past, you might think that any progression whatsoever towards something approximating mercy and tolerance is nothing short of a bloody miracle.
Well,
Like, people are pretty ruthless, and so are our chimpanzee cousins.
yes, they are.
Right. So
Yeah.
so we move forward into the light with great difficulty.
Yes,
And
yes.
the fact that
What
we can
the
take
fuck?
that for granted now, and that it seems self-evident and deserving of faint praise, it's not so clear to me that that's a reasonable proposition.
Okay, let's get.
Okay, can we just? I don't feel like what's going anywhere here. Can we please just? I'm not the best at his impression either. I just, it's. I need to do. I need to learn from Jimmy how to do Stewie, and then I'll just make that hit anyway. But Tuned Insight said, I like Dawkins, disagreeing on some points. Don't we all? But I cut my teeth on Dawkins. Beside, I am not sure why sentiment turned against him. Might be a good reason. I don't know. Yeah, because he seriously hates trans people, and it's very obvious, and he's literally going against the consensus of scholarship when it comes to things like intersex and stuff like that. But no, I don't want to get into all that. But yeah, he's it's not great. He's not great, And then, like I just described, he's like he was literally willing to say that he likes Christianity better because he was just going against Islam so hard. That was the whole point of him saying that. And of course, Christians well, yeah, all right, we win. Okay, that was all. Oh man, we even got the atheist guy to say it now. Dude, this is great. And they literally replayed that clip like 1.5 million fucking times. And really, his whole point was, I don't like Islam. That was it. That was his whole fucking point.
Let's grant the faint praise, but that has nothing to do with the truth value. And what I care about is the truth value. I see no truth value in the claims of Christianity, the virgin birth, the resurrection, the miracles. Do you believe in any of those?
There we go. Let's get to brass tacks here. Okay. What about the magics? Did the magics happen in the Bible, dude? Come on, go.
Do you believe Jesus was born a virgin?
As I said before, there are elements of the text that I don't feel qualified to comment on. My experience has been that the more I know
you can't comment. You can't comment on the text. Come on, dude. Like, what you can comment on anything, okay? Whether you're going to be right about it, that's going to be something else. And honestly, you're not qualified to have any of these conversations if we're going by just qualifications and being allowed to have conversations based on qualifications. You can't have any outside of clinical psychology. And even that, you've had your doctor degree or whatever removed, so you can't even really talk about that anymore either.
From a metaphorical perspective and from a mythic perspective, what the story of the virgin birth means, and I accept that. I know, for example, that any culture that doesn't hold the image of the woman and infant sacred dies.
Do you mean
And I don't know how that needs to be expressed in a form.
What? You say the women? Hold on.
That doesn't hold, from a metaphorical perspective and from a mythic perspective, what the story of the virgin birth means. And I accept that. I know, for example, that any culture that doesn't hold the image of the woman and infant sacred dies.
Any culture that doesn't hold the concept of women and what was it, giving birth.
And I accept that. I know, for example, that any culture that doesn't hold the image of the woman and infant sacred dies.
Oh, any culture that doesn't hold the image of the woman and the infant sacred dies. What? How many of those were there? It was just yeah, and then that image of the woman and the infant, we actually don't like that. We actually think that's exactly not sacred. I say, oh no, and then Godzilla just steps on him, and that's it. That's the end of that culture. Just totally gone. Because they said the thing about not holding. None of this means anything. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? What image of a woman and an infant, and whether or not it's sacred? What are you talking about?
And I don't know how that needs to be expressed in a form.
Any way that makes sense, which you haven't done yet. So, you know, I guess maybe you're working up to it.
Though.
Do you mean that you don't know?
Well,
That's exactly what it means.
let me ask you about that, because truth, this is something I talked with Sam Harris about too. Truth, as we know, is a tricky business. Do you think there are differences in the truth claims between different writers of fiction? Like, is Dostoevsky more profound than?
But that's not the fucking question, dude. We're talking about, see, this is when I knew it. I was like, here, let's hear him go when it comes to, was she a virgin when she gave birth? Did she exist? Was Jesus born of a virgin or whatever? That was the question that was asked, by the way. I know we all forgot about it because we got this great image of people not holding a painting of a woman and an infant sacred, and they got stomped on by a Godzilla. And I know that just side railed the whole thing, but that was the original question, is my point. So
No, well, I wouldn't call fiction truth claims anyway. I mean,
that's categorically it's like what fiction is, man.
Then on what grounds do we rank order the fiction in terms of quality? Like, Dostoevsky is a
Whether it's entertaining, dipshit, what the fuck?
profound purveyor of fiction on the philosophical front, unbelievably deep and profound.
Yes,
There's something true about what he's writing about.
No, it's not. Like, that's not the okay, define true, because like now I feel like and never mind, don't define, Jordan, please don't define what truth is. I feel like that's where we're going next. Please don't do that.
It's nothing to do with the truth that science is concerned with. The truth of science is the truth that gets us to the moon. I mean, this is nothing to do with whether one writer of fiction has a sort of insight into human nature. That goes without saying. I accept that.
Okay, so how do we deal with the notion that on the purely factual side, how do we deal with the idea? Let's take you talked about clitoridectomy. Let's talk about the oppression of women.
Yes.
We make a scientific case that that's inappropriate? Or is it a case that we're making on some other grounds? Like, I see in the Judeo-Christian tradition, one of the earliest pronouncements is that both men and women carry...
Are you talking... What was the thing? I guess I missed it. I'm like trying to read through chat.
That's inappropriate? Or is it a case that we're making on some other grounds? Like, I see in the Judeo-Christian tradition, one of the earliest pronouncements is that both men and women carry the image of God, both. And that sets a certain tone to everything that follows. And it is a remarkable proclamation, given its radical age, that both men and women carry the image of God and are to be treated as something with intrinsic value outside of the domain of power.
I always wonder about that. And I know I'm just like out of silence because like I feel like we're never going to get anywhere coherent enough for me to be able to actually pull out anything to actually talk about that's actually something worth talking about. But when they always talk about this, and I'll hear this a lot from religious people, as they say like, oh, they have value because they were made in the image of God. And it's like, how does that give value to people? I always wonder that, because I always want to be like, if we found out that was a misprint, if we found out that there was something in the Bible that doesn't say that, like it didn't, all those parts where they alluded to that in the Bible, it was like actually something completely different, like God just had an image or something like that. Like, would that mean that people don't have value then? If you found out that the Bible that God didn't actually make man and women or whatever in his own image, would people all cease to have value? Or would you find a different reason to say that people have value? You know what I mean? But it's because that does not follow to me. Like, oh, well, we were made in the image of God, so that's why you shouldn't kick people in the face, obviously, because if we were made in a different image, faces are just there for the kicking, basically. Okay, what? Like, why? Why does this? Why? Or
in politics, and it isn't obvious to me, having thought about this a lot, how we deal with that in the pure realm of fact. Because one of the facts is, if I can oppress you, why the hell shouldn't I?
Yeah, my job is to keep things on track here. I think there are a number of questions which...
Okay, I got to step in. We've lost the plot, is what I think I'm going to have to say here.
Professor Dawkins has asked quite directly that we still haven't really heard an answer.
Okay.
Professor Dawkins asking about the virgin birth. You started talking about metaphor, you started talking about myth. I think anybody listening to this conversation will understand that...
Was she born? Was Jesus born of a virgin? That's what we're supposed to look. That's the little sub thing down here. Like even that's what we're supposed to be talking about.
Maybe a society that doesn't believe in the virgin birth won't work.
Jesus
Maybe that's
Christ.
the predictive power that you're talking about. But I think you must understand that when Professor Dawkins is asking you, do you believe that Jesus was born of a virgin? He means something like a biological fact. And by the way, saying I don't know, or saying, I'm not qualified to comment, is an answer to that question. But is that your answer, that you don't know?
I said earlier, and I would hold to this, is that there are elements of the text that I don't know how to, that I'm incapable of fully accounting for.
What the fuck does that mean? That you're incapable of fully accounting for? Like, why can't you just say that it's that you, like, whether or not you think it's true? Because you realize all the people that you're fucking pandering to, dude, think that that Jesus was born of a virgin, that he did come back to life and fly away into the fucking clouds. Like that they think that stuff actually happened. Now, this is why he has to play this fucking semantic game, because so much of his audience believes that shit. And so he doesn't. It's pretty fucking goddamn clear that he doesn't. But he sees Christians as an easy fucking target audience, that he can mess with. So he's like,
Oh no, it's true, but in a metaphorical sense, if you think about it,
like, and that's what he has to do. And so anytime that he's pressed like this, it gets comical, because he's trying so hard to do the political, the politician thing, and not fucking answer the question.
I can't account for what the fundamental
Sorry, I've got there was this fog that came through, and apparently it's that's just passing out diseases or something. And I got it, came through. So I have some kind of magical lung problem that's probably caused by the drones that were released by the Illuminati, obviously. So it's the reptilian. I have a reptilian humanoid cold, really, is what I'm getting at here. So if you hear me kind of breathing hard and stuff, it's because I got the fog. I got the fog disease stuff.
reality and significance of the notion of the resurrection is. My knowledge just ends.
Sure, but
I know that whatever happened,
Wish you would just do that on everything.
my knowledge ends.
whatever happened as a consequence of the origination and the promotion of the Christian story was powerful enough to bring Rome to its knees and demolish the pagan enterprise.
Well, really, I mean, I feel like we know why that's true, right? Like the whole reason why Christianity was able to spread so rapidly and took out paganism was because everything else at that time was just sort of like, you add another god to the canon. That they didn't like cancel out. They didn't go, oh, there's just one god in place of all the gods. No, it was just, oh, you got a god, well, I got a god too, so we got both gods. Like, and that was how it worked until Christianity came through Rome, and then it was like, this one god cancels out all the other gods, and it spread like wildfire and canceled everything else out. But according to Bart Ehrman, anyway, that's the Bible scholar.
So there's some power in that story that's remarkable.
Let's stick to the virgin birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, well, the virgin birth results from a mistranslation of Isaiah. You know that.
Like these sorts of questions.
Yeah.
What would you?
Haven't you seen the first scene in Snatch? Okay, when all those guys, remember, they were pretending to be the rabbis, right? And they're like going around all those little cameras, right? And they're walking from like one security camera to another. It's a great scene. And it's the Benicio del Toro, right? And he's talking about like, actually, it's a mistranslation that meant like young girl or whatever. It didn't actually mean like a virgin, like that. It just meant young girl, because there was just a slight difference in the way that it was spelled. Anyway, so you could go see that movie. You learn all sorts of stuff about Jesus.
Say they don't strike me as they're not getting to the point.
I know
The
that. I
story
know you
has a
think that.
purpose.
Yes.
Well, and look, I understand that there's perfect reasons to debate this. I know that, and I know that your question is more than valid, but it's beside the issue as far as I'm concerned, and it's partly because.
Is this like the actual Jim Bob dude from the hold on, justification is discussed in like chapter 1, section 8, philosophy textbooks. I don't think that they get that for. I guess you were saying something else. Is this Jim Bob from like that debate that was the other day? You were talking to Derek from Myth Vision, and who was it? Jay Dyer, of course, popped in, and you were the top left circle, or sorry, not circle, square. It's a square. You know, I mix up my shapes sometimes. Okay, just don't judge me too hard about that. Yeah, and you were talking about, well, presuppositionalist stuff, and then you brought Jay in, and then that's where the conversation went from there. Is that you? Is that who you are? Because I see Jim Bob in the name here. Just curious.
Well, when we started this conversation, I said, for example, that it appears to be the case that a description of the structure through which we see the world is a story. We see the world through a story.
I mean, this is what's so interesting, I think, about human beings, is that we do, like, we're storytellers. We've always been storytellers. You know, as far as like our development and everything like that. That's like why we like literally learn better through telling stories and stuff like that. We're just psychologically interested in stories. And it is really cool. It's kind of like created, like people talk about like the multiverse or whatever. And I was always just like, humans have kind of created a multiverse because of our ability to like the show called, like, it's to ask what if, and then we can kind of logically follow that out and create any kind of concept of whatever kind of thing we want, to the point of, you know, where we have like a movie about a guy making a maze out of like cardboard boxes, and then they get lost in it, you know, and then there's like Muppets that are trying to kill him and stuff. It's called Dave Made a Maze. It's really fucking weird. Great. You know, take some acid and watch that shit. You know what I mean? But, or shrooms work too. You know, but anyway, but like, yeah, our brains are incredible when it comes to like creating narrative structures like that. And we've made the multiverse possible, but only in a metaphysical sense. Not really sure what I was bringing any of that up or anything, but yeah, right. It's crazy.
And so that's a remarkable thing. That's a remarkable discovery, and it's emerged probably in the last 60 years in multiple disciplines, because we have to prioritize our facts. And so we prioritize them.
You're literally arguing against prioritizing facts right now. You're literally arguing for, but what about metaphors though? Aren't metaphors more important than the fucking facts? Okay.
According to a particular pattern. And there are patterns that seem to work and to propagate themselves properly and to orient cultures towards life abundant. And there are other patterns, the pattern of Cain, for example, that lead to absolute bloody devastation. And I don't know exactly how to construe that sort of truth. But we talked about the oppression of women, for example. It's like, how do you make a case on purely factual grounds that women should be treated as equals?
It's a moral question, and
I know that's exactly.
And I was dealing with a factual question, which is, did Jesus have a father? And you won't answer it.
Well,
It's a
Jesus
different
had
kind
an
of
earthly
question.
father and a heavenly father, like almost all
He had a magical father. Yeah, what? I don't understand. What am I not answering here?
mythological heroes.
So he
That's a-
wasn't born of a virgin then. So you're saying that Jesus was not born of a virgin?
That's the question that you're answering, Jordy. Come on, man. Like, hey, over here.
I said, first of all, that I don't know how to mediate the fact value dichotomy in that case. I said the same thing about the resurrection.
It's not a value. It's a simple fact. I mean, did a man have intercourse with Mary and produce Jesus? That's a factual question.
Why do you make me have to answer stuff so without being able to run around the question? Why do you do this?
It's not a value question.
He's literally like having a fucking like meltdown, right? He's pouting.
You must understand what you're being asked here. That
I don't want.
even if you think that, say, the author of the biblical texts intended much more significance than a simple scientific analysis of events, Professor Dawkins is interested in scientific truth. That's the kind of truth that he's interested in. And even if you think it's
How'd you get all dressed up and you forgot to do your hair, man? You need to have you need to part it like over here, you know, and like get that nice and greased up, okay? And then pull it all over to this side over here, so you can really like just kick in with that 1930s. You know what I'm talking about? That 1930s look, where there's just like maybe it was the 50s, the slicky look, where you know what I mean?
it's irrelevant to the point of what the gospel authors were getting at. That first needs to be clarified before you can then begin actually uncovering what the stories are about. So I think Professor Dawkins is asking from a scientific perspective, and maybe you think that that scientific approach is wrong. But if you just take it for a moment, maybe this is how we find out that it is wrong. Let's take a scientific approach, ask the question, did this occur?
I think that it's inappropriate to use a question like that to attempt to undermine the validity of the entire, what would you say, deep mythological enterprise.
Suppose we weren't doing that.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, it's either true or it isn't. Why is this so difficult? And he's trying to make it like it would undermine the validity of the, what did he say, metaphorical enterprise? Why would that undermine any metaphor that would be made from it? You can make a metaphor about any fucking untrue thing. Who gives a shit, man?
Suppose we were asking out of interest. Suppose that we were all here devout Christians, maybe even Jungian Christians, and we thought, this is interesting, over dinner. Do you think it really happened, like scientifically? Would your answer just be, I don't know?
Yes.
And you wouldn't consider it?
What? Don't give him an out, man. You're letting him off, dude. Like, that's what he's... It's like, I think what you're trying to say here is, I don't know, right? Just go ahead. You're allowed to say that. That's just go ahead and go with that. And then you can just keep making up all your metaphor nonsense mumbo jumbo.
I mean, it's not an inappropriate question to ask, just on a point of interest.
Right.
Did this really occur? And I think so often people are asking you that, and especially given the context of this conversation, we've heard everything that you're saying about metaphor and myth, but because the question is still then being asked, did it really happen? You know that that's what you're being asked. And the way you just so easily said yes, I wonder why you struggle to do that in so many other circumstances.
He's like, you literally struggled. Like, I don't want to just say it.
I think because I don't look at the situation the same. The way that Dr. Dawkins and I look at the situation are really quite different, and at many, many, many levels. You know, so even on the meme question, for example, you know, like, I know the literature on the history of religious ideas. I see how these ideas have battled across millennia in a manner that is very reminiscent to me of the same sort of claim that Dr. Dawkins is putting forward with regards to meme. I know that literature. Dr. Dawkins doesn't know that literature. And it's very difficult for me to communicate from within the confines of that literature because it's extensive and deep. And we're dealing with things that we...
Just so we're clear, I'm having like a little bit of trouble with my second screen, so that's why I'm having trouble with the like getting comments up and stuff. Just so you're aware, I'm should be able to get back to it in a minute, but I'm like seeing, I guess there's something going on in the chat, but I can't really see it because it keeps on getting shut down. So
we don't understand the relationship between metaphoric truth and value predicated truth and factual truth. We don't understand that. It's a big problem.
What do you mean? There's nothing to understand. Like, you're saying that like, we do understand that. There's a difference between factual truth. There's a difference between metaphorical truth. And then what was the third one?
We don't understand the relationship between metaphoric truth and value predicated truth and
value predicated truth.
Factual truth. We don't understand that. It's a big problem.
Well, two of them are just subjective. Like, what? Like, we're looking for like what's objectively true, like factually. Like, that's what we're trying to ask here. And it does actually undermine the whole thing, because a lot of people only believe this shit because they think it's actually true. It's almost like it always reminds me of like the what do you call it? Those urban legends. The only reason those things are scary or interesting to tell at all is because people claim that they're true. People claim that at one time there was a guy with this stutter trying to warn a person about somebody with a hatchet in the back seat, and they got so scared of the person with the stutter that they drove off without checking their back seat. And I think we all know how the story goes from there. It's actually the opening scene of a movie called of Urban Legend. That's the name of the movie. Yeah, it's so. The only reason that those stories are interesting is because people say that they're true. Religion is basically the same fucking way. If this story isn't interesting, it's actually just an incoherent gobble of nonsense. If it's not true, right? And that's why I think religious people want so badly for the undead carpenter ghost to actually, you know, that they think lives inside of it. Like, they really want all that stuff to be true, because otherwise it's completely insane. It already is completely insane. Just by the by, pretending to cannibalize somebody because they said that you'll forget them otherwise, fucking insane. That's an insane fucking thing to say to people. And then I don't know how people heard him say that. And they're like, this guy's God. That's got to be God, because who else would ask us to eat him or pretend to eat him? Or if you're a Catholic, I guess actually eat them if you believe in that transubstantiation thing. I know I'm hung up on the cannibalism thing, but that's so fucking weird. What the hell? But yeah, no, it's not true. That's the bottom line here.
Look, we cannot, there's no evidence whatsoever from the scientific perspective that we can orient ourselves in the world merely in consequence of the facts.
Sure.
And that's a fact. And it's a fact that's been detailed out in great detail.
How do you know that's a fact? If you can't orient yourself in this,
In the last 60 years by people from a variety of different disciplines. We have to prioritize the facts. That's a value hierarchy. There may be true and false ways of prioritizing facts, but you can't determine the truth or falsehood of the way that you prioritize facts
Yes.
by making reference to the facts. That's a big problem.
Okay, let's talk about that as perhaps a slight detour here, because I think we do need to come back to this Christ resurrection thing. But Professor,
yeah, since he won't fucking talk about anything that we're actually talking about, he's got to be like, bro, no, it just, what about the fact value of the judgment of the metaphor and everything? Like, what about all the value you can get from a metaphor? Yeah, you can get all that from fucking Star Wars too, man. This is stupid. Just, what are you talking about?
So Dawkins, would you say that underlying the scientific enterprise is a fundamentally unscientific assumption? You can make scientific investigations in the world, but in order to do so, you need to choose what to prioritize. You need to choose what to investigate. You also need to value the truth. You need to have a value and a motivation for doing it in the first place.
This is Jim Bob.
Those kinds of things.
Is this the Jim Bob? That's the Jim, because that sounds like exactly what that Jim Bob said. Here we go. So logic proves a oh boy, we might have to switch to a pre-sub video after this. If I got some time. Yeah, I got some time. Because yeah, that logic proves a necessary absolute mind, kiddo. No, it doesn't. Logic was something, it's descriptive, and we've curated it over time. And you know, and like when what do you mean by logic? Like, you mean just like the laws of logic, like the non-contradiction, identity, excluded middle, like those being logic? Like, how does that, you get that you're starting with the God in your first premise, right? And then like you don't get that's like the thing that you're trying to prove. You can't have that in your first premise, say like God has to cause logic, and then like logic, you can't, you know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. You're just begging the question. You're just starting with your conclusion and then just saying that a magic had to be. But it's just an argument from ignorance. You're just saying you can't figure it out how logic exists without a God. But logic was just something that we came up with to map things out better, just so we understand the world better. That's it. It's just like math, you know, it's something that we created. It's like a grid that we put over the world to better understand it. It's not anything that was already there that was needing to be discovered. It was something that we curated over time. It's really not that difficult. It's descriptive.
Cannot themselves be scientifically justified. And so does the scientific enterprise have an unscientific assumption of space?
I suppose it does. I mean, I think that maybe just be Jordan and Richard, by the way. But I think that,
and that shit, honestly, like that precept stuff, it's flim flam logic, dude. Like, who the hell would actually be convinced by that besides Woody from Cheers? You know, if you're just like, oh, well, how do you know that you're not, like, how do you know that knowing stuff is what's known? Like, if you actually did that, like, would that work in a fucking court of law? Because you're just questioning the basics of epistemology and then saying that you have a solution to the problem of knowledge and all of philosophy, and then saying that everybody else doesn't, and then try to get everybody else on the back foot to defend the indefensible, which is, you know, like some explanation for the problem of knowledge that's just sort of like a one size fits all sort of thing. It's not that simple. It's flim flam logic, man. So it's just playing games, really. It's playing like word games and shit with logic. That's all it is.
Jordan prioritizes myth and I prioritize fact. And I think myth is kind of vaguely interesting, but it's not the be all and end all of my life. I think it's somewhat secondary to scientific fact, the sort of facts that tell us how old the universe is, how old the world is, the history of life, the engineering achievements of landing a spacecraft on a comet. These are
that was all done by the actors, you know, they set that up. That was all a screen. None of that was actually real. All right. You know, they faked it. They faked the moon landing because we were in competition with Russia, and it was just the whole thing. The Illuminati was probably doing the reptilian humanoid. The earth is flat.
Things that science can do. And as I said, the predictions of quantum theory, to come back to that, the predictions of quantum theory, which are verified to a sufficient number of decimal places that it's equivalent to predicting the width of North America to 1 hair's breadth. Now, that is, however difficult quantum theory is to understand, that is what you can get from quantum theory. Now, the mysteries of the Bible, if they are mysteries, aren't in the same league. I mean, they just don't cut it.
Yeah. Two different things. And, you know, Jordan Peterson just will not answer
The
that.
dragon fight story. People are in
Dragon fight story. I never, I didn't hear that it started that way. That's really good. I love it. All right, we go back to home and see if I can find a. I was gonna say like a pre-sup video or something, but what do you think here? Because I'm trying to. Yeah, we'll do Jay since that's his like favorite thing. Let's see what we got. I wonder if he does one with Matt Dillahunty, because that would be cool. It's Catholicism, open debate. Nope. Here, let me do transcendental. I think maybe he just describes it in one. Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay. It's 18 minutes. All right.
I'll go ahead and say that. So basically,
I feel like we can get to the bottom of it with this, because I feel like he basically explains that it's just a game. That if you get to presuppose logic, I get to presuppose a magic as the cause for the you know, if you get to do it, I get to do it. Like it's a rubber and glue, or like I know you are, but what am I type of fucking argument, right? Whether you say, hey, if you get to presuppose like logic is being logical, okay, well then I get to presuppose a magic as to why logic is logical. Hey, I'm just playing by your rules, buddy. And then, you know, try to then start getting the atheist to defend, you know, how they know logic is logical without using logic to prove that logic is logical. It's so stupid because that's circular, you know. Yeah.
my argument will be presented like this. I think that worldviews are what we all have. We all function on the basis of 3 basic philosophic approaches to life that are usually boiled down to metaphysics, ethics, and epistemology. So these 3 branches of philosophy historically have been what makes it what we could call a worldview, at least in Western philosophy. I would say that I believe, and I would argue that each one of these branches is intertwined with the other. So, for example, if I argue for something in the realm of epistemology, if I argue that a belief is true, typically what goes along with that is also an assumption about ethics and moral claims, moral judgments, that one ought to follow what is true. Now, one could disagree with that conceivably, but I'm going to argue that I think they're all.
I don't know how, like, why. If something is true, you say like you ought to believe that it's true. That you're saying that that's tied to it somehow. Okay.
Intertwined. Similarly, if I were to say that we know that something is the case, it also tends to imply or necessitate certain beliefs about metaphysics, claims about what's real, what's not real. What can be or what can't be. So these 3 aspects of a worldview, I would say, are in a sense transcendental categories, or they at least utilize a lot of transcendental categories. Transcendental categories would be things like the principle of induction, the laws of logic, the past, identity over time, the self, the regularity that we find in nature. These are not subjects that are the immediate purview of empirical sense data or empirical science. They're related to empirical science. For example, the principle of induction, that the future will be like the past, that there's regularity in logic, that there's regularity, and that there's a flow, you could say, to the scientific method. For example, if you study philosophy of science, you'll know that there's actually a logical process that's assumed in the process of doing the scientific method. So from
I mean, they have to assume that this is like what what's his name was talking about. Shit, and of course now I can't think of his name. But the really smart guy that passed away a couple of years ago, that was in the wheelchair and everything. Anyway, he was saying that like if a God did exist, he basically tied his hands the second that he created everything, because he made a bunch of laws, the physical laws of the universe that are all unbendable, and then everything happens in accordance with those laws, like gravity and things like that. It's like they're unbendable laws of science. And so if there was a God, like he just kind of like started it and then just tied his hands immediately, because you can't really you can't intercede in that without altering what has been demonstrated to be the case over and over and over again, which is that the laws of science, physical laws of science that are assumed to be that always function the same way, that they, you know, you can't interrupt that, right? Because that's just not how anything works. And that's, as far as like we can tell, based on all of our investigation.
Reasoning on the basis of hypothesis to what the data supports towards a conclusion. For example, it presupposes that one ought to be true in this process if one wants to obtain the most true conclusions in this process. It presupposes
The most true conclusion isn't that the whole point of excluded middle, is that it's an absolute
logic that one step in this process should follow another step. And it also presupposes all kinds of other things, like the words have meaning, regularity.
That was great. Okay. Said the fakest internet philosopher around. I did on our other video, the members only, on our members like stream, whatever, the other day, like he got in like some slap fight with some other Christian intellectual, like, but it's funny because it's like theological intellectual, so it's like all based on like hermeneutics and whatever, like other theological academic stuff, you know. And they just kept going back. It was hilarious because they just sounded so, it sounded to me, of course, like two people arguing over Lord of the Rings or something, or like Star Wars nerds. That's actually more accurate. And then bringing up the books of the source material, and oh no, well that would alter what we all know was the chosen one who brought balance to the Force, which was Darth Vader. And they're, you know, like just going off of it. It was just hilarious. And the dude got so mad, and it seemed like Jay Dyer got like really upset. He was like, had like he looked like he was crying. That was like the name of the video, was like Jay Dyer cries or something. And it was just funny because it sounded to me like, of course, I'm not educated in theology, of course, but it sounded to me like he was floundering and just trying to make shit up and everything. It was just really funny, and the dude was just kind of calling him on it. And yeah, he broke down. He did not like that. But eventually the dude kicked him off though, and it was all bad. It was really funny. Yeah, check it out. Become a member. Go check it out. It's funny.
Etc. That objects have a sort of uniformity to them over time. That's, I would say, is all presupposed in the scientific process itself. Numbers would be presupposed in this process, and these are all, I think, things that
numbers would be presupposed in this process. What, as opposed to what? Like they wouldn't, like we just don't have any structure. Like numbers are just a description, again, of like reality, so that we can better map it out, just so we can understand things, basically. And it's just mapped out consistency. That's it, pretty much. Same thing with logic. Logic is basically just mapped out consistency. It's a description of like reality, and it's really only so that we can communicate with each other in a way and know what's consistent and everything. It's not, you know, it's not this magical thing that like that they, you know, people like him act like it is, that it has to be created by a god. It's just their little way of being like, I have a magic that proves that everything that I think is accurate because of divine revelation. But how the fuck do you know that you're not getting your divine revelation from the devil? How do you know it's not the devil? And if we do have divine revelation, why can't it divinely reveal things consistently? Y'all, there's 45,000 different denominations. Nobody knows what the actual religion is. Like, even Christians can't even fucking agree on what Christianity is. You don't think that like maybe hurts your case just a tiny bit, man? Like, that it's this, oh, I have divine revelations, that therefore I can use logic and know that my logical conclusions are like accurate conclusions because I got the magic that's based, that, you know, that I'm basing all my logic in. Yet the being that has the most important story that it needs to communicate to humans can't communicate that. This all-powerful being can't communicate that most important story like in any way that's consistent.
what the fuck? Why not? Come on.
that are immaterial, invariant, they're conceptual, and they're abstract. Now, I think that because something is presupposed in the scientific methodology doesn't necessarily mean that in other words, what I'm saying, we don't necessarily.
Hold on. Made by Jim Bob said, is the truth of math dependent on human opinion or preferences? Like, what do you, like, it's a system that we created, but it's a system that is structured in a way that it would always have to maintain that way. But actually, you could change certain things. I don't really understand. I'm not a mathematician, but I hear that you can actually change like something with zero. You like change the quality of zero or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, because you can play with it because it's a human construct. It's made up by people, So yeah, it can change.
Prove everything in the same way, right? So in other words, something that is assumed, it's a category like that, a law of logic or something that's utilized.
We get into like the actual, because like this is not
purview.
I feel like this is a terrible description of the transcendental argument, but okay.
It still assumes laws of logic and that regularity that cannot be proven in terms of empirical sense data. So if one were to adopt a kind of naive empirical,
but like, dude, this is what's so weird about this. You're like, oh man, you can't prove that the laws of like the physical laws of the universe are unchanging. But we have computers that we're literally using right now that were created on the basis of those axioms being true. And look at this. They fucking work, man. It's crazy. We have so much we can point to as to like, hey, all of, with those assumptions, put down, like we've created so many things that function correctly because of assuming that the universe functions the way that we assume that it works. Like it's acting like we don't have any of that is insane.
versus view, a kind of logical positivism. What we end up with is the inability to
logical positivism. I think that's like where you believe that like logic is like the best way to come to conclusions or something. Everything is so absolutist when it gets to this type of stuff because it gets to like, oh, you think only using logic to deduce things is true or whatever. Like, and then empiricism is only being able to demonstrate stuff. And it just gets so, it's like the philosophy of sciences that are just so absolutist. It's like, oh, it's only this or it's only that or it's only. And it's just like, I don't know. I was trying to like look into it for a bit, but some of this philosophy stuff, it just gets exhausting. It's just taking some simple concept and complicating the hell out of it, or taking some complicated subject or simplifying the hell out of it, and then bouncing back and forth between those two. That's like all it is for the most part.
To understand or to justify the belief in the principle of induction, the regularity of nature, that the future will be like the past. Now, one could say conceivably that they don't.
Please stop hitting the table, man. Okay, I get you're excited. I'm excited too. Okay, but can you just stop hitting the table?
Think that we have to justify it or that we can't justify it. But I think that at that point we would be being arbitrary and be believing in and admitting things that we don't have any sort of justification for. And I'm speaking here of a kind of specific philosophic justification here.
No, it is not impossible. Hold on. It is possible. Great. It said 1 + 1 = 9 is possible. Great. There goes your epistemic standard. If I change the value from 1 to mean that it is 4.5. So yeah, that is actually true. As long as since it's a descriptive thing and we are just using it to describe the world around us, and it's sort of just a system that we can play with in this way. Yeah, I can make it say that, but that has nothing to do with an epistemic standard. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is like this. I'm not Woody from Cheers, man. Nobody, and we're not Joey from Friends either, man. These are the only idiots that this type of fucking like mind game tricks, like you're trying to Jedi mind trick everybody, would work. Okay, so I got to just believe like whatever you fucking tell me. I got to believe because you're saying that it's the justification for all epistemology. Go fuck yourself. How stupid do you think everybody is? It's childish. Jesus, if they like understand logic enough to play these fucking precept word game bullshit, that they can just come in and just act like everybody should be convinced of shit that wouldn't convince anybody. If you brought this shit into a fucking court of law, you'd be laughed out of the fucking room, dude.
In terms of warrants,
yeah, dude came back to life and flew away into the clouds. Now you got to believe it because your epistemic standard is predicated on it. So you better believe that the dude did come back to life and flew away into the clouds. Okay, you would be laughed out. They'd be like, "No, I don't have to believe that." Look, you do, because how do you know that you know anything, huh? What's your epistemic standard? What's your criteria? What's the criteria for your epistemic standard? Like, shut the fuck. Like, this doesn't work. The judge would be like, "Get the fuck out of here, man." Okay, we're presupposing that reality is real, that logic is logical, and that we're sharing a reality. Okay, so shut the fuck up. This is stupid.
To beliefs in terms of justifying true beliefs, etc. The way history,
Oh my god,
of philosophy in the West
hit the table one more motherfucking time, and I'm switching videos.
has typically justified propositions and beliefs. I would say that we would be relying on things that are immaterial that we can't justify. And so the way that I move from that to God is to say that there are actually a whole bunch of things in all of our lives that we assume that are not strictly speaking physical, not strictly speaking, quote, pragmatic, because from what I gather from Matt's worldview, he tends to have a very sort of pragmatic.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find a better breakdown of this, because I feel like this is terrible. Hold on. What's the translation? Let me see. Let me take Jay out of this. Let's just do like a philosophy today or something, or whatever the fuck. Like just a basic one. Explanation. Let's try that. Oh, is that the one with Shermer? Which is that? Oh, it's Frank Turek. Tag explained. The Think Institute. Yeah. Oh God, it's 49 fucking minutes. Oh wait, here's a atheist experience. We'll go with that.
Consideration. We're gonna go to Baked Alaska in New York. Wants to talk about Tag, the transcendental argument for God. Go.
Yeah, so just to pick up, maybe I could.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Maya. That's awesome. So shut the fuck up is sound advice. Get him, Bradley. Goddamn right. Hitting the table like that. I can't. That's very distracting. And you know me, I get distracted quite easily these days, you know. But no, thank you so much though for the super chat. Really do appreciate that.
Provide some continuity with the last caller.
I just want to know what I just want the transcendental argument for God.
The transcendental argument is
oh my God, who's
precondition?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have sound issues too. Am I gonna have to tell the atheist experience to shut the fuck up because they got sound problems too? What the fuck is going on here?
Great. Yep.
And so,
okay. He has a great beard, I gotta say. And I wish I could do that, but I can't.
And so,
I don't know that I accept that Hold on, real quick. I'm familiar with the argument. I wanted you just to say that first premise, right? So that's the reason why I had you come on, was for this premise. You do realize that if you present an atheist with the first premise of this argument, God is the necessary precondition for knowledge.
That's it. That's premise one. God's in the first premise. That's what I was trying to explain. Is that like God is a precondition for knowledge itself. So if you have God in the first premise, that's circular.
Not a single atheist would accept that because they don't believe in God. So it assumes the falsity of their view. So what you're going to have to do now, and this is why I brought you on, was for this specific thing.
Ever said, behold, our Lord and Savior, J. Mike. See, I got the chat working a bit better now. It's not reset. I had to do some big update on my computer, and I swear every fucking time I do an update, it's like it's just all over the place as far as like it working or not working. But I feel like I got it up and working so far. So yeah, so now y'all can start commenting. I don't know if you just permission granted. Now I can,
I want you to take that first premise that God is the necessary precondition for knowledge.
Why is there a potato being crucified back there? What did the potato do? And he looks very surprised about it, actually. He's like, am I being crucified? What the fuck? Who would do this to a potato? Potatoes are great.
Put that as the conclusion of a new argument and give me premises that lead to that conclusion, because I don't accept the first premise. So that's the only thing that I'd like you to do.
Okay. So the only way I could do that on the fly is I would reformulate the argument in the form of modus propaganda.
So you don't have support for the first premise of an argument that you're giving? When I give arguments, I have like
So-
3 or 4 supporting arguments for the premises. Like, look at William Lane Craig. Craig gives the, like, look at Craig. Like, look at Daddy Craig, right? He gives
I like it. He calls him Daddy Craig. Daddy, you know, William Lane Craig is the philosophical theist apologist daddy. He's him and what's the C.S. Lewis. Him and C.S. Lewis. They're holding down the fort for all of them, it seems.
everything that begins to exist as a cause.
Before that was probably Aquinas. I don't know, wasn't it Aquinas? That's not the one. Anyway.
The universe began to exist, therefore the universe had a cause. But he doesn't just roll that out, right? He gives arguments why there can't be actual infinites, why there can't be things that begin to exist, right? Because then things could just pop in from the nothing void or whatever. So he gives additional arguments, like, you know, it's not the case that there are actual.
This is what I'm talking about. This is just so silly. Like, I get it. Like, it's great that you like know about all these different categories and stuff and everything within epistemology. This isn't convincing. Okay, you can play these kind of games all the way back. The point is, you have to like he's saying, you have to justify the first premise. You have to prove that the God does actually exist. You can't just say that my ability to observe reality is better than yours because I can justify my ability to observe reality with a magic. Okay, you can say that it's like, then you're saying all of inductive, whatever. Like, you could say this type of stuff all you want. It's not convincing to anybody, dude. Like, if any normal person was presented your arguments and you could say all this type of, like, you know, logical jargon all you want, and nobody's buying it, dude. Like, you end up sounding like a fucking used car apologist salesman that just is like, I know all the words. It's like, so what? You're using the words to like prove a thing that you can't demonstrate exists in any way, shape, or form, and you're just trying to play fucking like Jedi mind trick games with people. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. It's literally flim flam logic.
Infinities or whatever.
I may have misunderstood. Mike, I may have misunderstood you. I thought you said not to present the argument with that first premise.
I asked you to make what's called a supplemental argument that takes the first premise that I don't accept, that no atheist would ever accept, that God is the precondition. Look, not a single atheist would go, yeah, I think God is the precondition for knowledge. Yep, I accept premise 1. Every atheist would go, yeah, I'm not convinced by that premise, or I straightforwardly think that premise is false.
Or it's just like any, like he's saying any atheist, but any rational person. I'm pretty sure there are theists that would say they don't buy that as a logical argument either, because it's circular. It's a begging the question.
And so what you're going to have to do, what's required of you in the dialectic, is to present a new argument where that premise is now the conclusion of a new argument. So that way we can get from statements that reason our way to that statement, so that we can travel back to the first argument, right? This is why I wanted to bring you on, because I fucking hate presuppositionalism. I fucking hate it. And I wanted you to come up so I can exploit what no presuppositionalist can do, which is give a supporting argument for the first premise. So I'm going to mute, and you're going to give me and you're going to give me the premises, or you're going to concede I don't have that argument, which is I have a hypothesis that not a single presuppositionalist has that argument.
Because again, like, they're just presupposing a magical presupposition. I always want to just be like, if they do any of the questioning, just be like the butthole chakra. The butthole chakra is the basis for all knowledge. Didn't you know that? You got to believe in butthole chakras now, dude. Hey, no. Hey, I said that it's a necessary precondition for knowledge. It's a butthole chakra, so you gotta believe it now. Do you have a butthole? That's what I thought. Okay, well, you got a chakra in there. You gotta believe it. Okay, because I said that's the necessary precondition for all knowledge. So there you go. And
I would have to present a different argument, because what you're saying is why.
And you don't have that argument?
And
you don't have that argument?
Well, I mean, essentially, the reasoning is all the same, right? I mean, essentially,
it's not. Do you have the argument or do you not?
Yes, it's essentially the same argument.
Okay, what's the first premise?
I mean, I don't.
Precept bog, I like that. Oh, and he wasn't playing nice. Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping he would see this. Damn. Well, I mean, I'm sure that he's watching with a shaken fist from his signed out account. You know, he's not signed in, but he can't comment when you're not signed in because anyway. But it's the whole thing.
Stop wasting my time. What's the first premise?
That the regularity of nature is necessary to
exactly.
form knowledge claims.
That exactly. The buttoned the buttoned chakra. That's the playing it safe for YouTube way to spell it. But yes, the buttoned chakra is real. But don't ask me how I know. Okay, but it's the precondition for all knowledge to be knowledgeable. So yeah, that's what I said. I'm right. That's just that we're just playing a game of I presuppose that I'm right and I presuppose you're wrong. There we go. I already win.
Wait, but you said God was necessary for knowledge claims,
right? But then but you won't accept that. So I'm going to start with something that you will accept, and then we'll work our way backwards to how that has to be grounded in God.
Oh, there you go. Logan's on it for me. Holy shit. I totally forgot what I was doing. And if you want to unbutton your chakra, that's right, just go to adamandeve.com. I can't believe this is the first Adam and Eve ad. Go to adamandeve.com and Logan, you got remember we literally just talked about this the other day. You said that you weren't going to do this again. Thank you. Jeez Louise. Go to adamandeve.com, enter code word Brentley at checkout to get 50% off almost any one item, 6 free movies, 3 free gifts, and free shipping on the whole order. Just go to adamandeve.com, enter that code word Brentley. Adamandeve.com is America's #1 sex toy dispensary. Save yourself a trip to the store and get your butt some dildos. Okay, they got just everything. They got everything from all like sex toy, just dildos, to sexy lingerie, to lubes, right? For the dildos, preferably. Sometimes, I don't know, depends what you're into. But yeah, just go to adamandeve.com, enter that code word Brentley at checkout, and get your butt some stuff and stuff your butt. Okay, I feel like that was pretty solid, right? It was a pretty solid ad break, that made up for what, 2 hours of one ad break. They're gonna love this stream here.
God.
They're gonna cancel me. I swear to God.
So what was the first premise again?
What else you want me to do?
Well, I want you to come prepared with. Look, it's very clear that you're making up premises now. Like you don't. Like, just be honest with me. Is the argument that the supplemental argument that you're giving me now, is it written down anywhere, or just be honest? Or are you just literally saying it now off the top of your head? Just be honest.
Because
okay,
that's the thing. Because they don't have an argument that leads up to that. It's like sort of just like we were saying, like I'm just right because I'm already right. Because they're playing games with the rules. They're saying like if you get to presuppose that logic is logical, and you get to presuppose that there's an objective truth and that we are all experiencing the same objective truth together. If you get to presuppose that stuff, then I get to presuppose a God, and then try to get you on your back foot to defend all epistemology and stuff like that through their questioning, and putting you on your back foot. That's really the main trick, is trying to get you to be put on your back foot. And they also really need you to make positive claims of non-existence. You don't get to say I'm not convinced. You have to. If you ever watch any like Darth Dawkins streams or anything, you're not allowed to not know. You have to pretend to know stuff that you can't know. You know what I mean? And if you say you don't know, I'm gonna kick you. I'm gonna kick you. If you say you don't know, I'm gonna excuse me. Yeah, he's the fucking he's dumb. Like, I almost want somebody to just be like, look, buddy, what do you need my position to be? Okay, well, you tell me what my fucking position needs to be so that you can make your fucking argument, because you're just not making your argument. You're just getting mad at the way that I'm framing mine. And that's it. That's all he's got.
It's the latter. I'm making.
Okay, so you didn't have the
but you're
okay. So the only reason, dropping the call. The only reason I brought you up here was not.
Yeah, dude. Atheist precept. Premise 1: logic is only possible if gods don't exist. I like the included multiple, just in case, covering all your bases there. if gods don't exist. Premise 2, logic is possible. C, gods don't exist. Boom, nailed it. What? Like that's basically it. You know what I mean? That's why, if you are dealing with precepts, like you just said, you just reject the premise, because the thing is, we have to agree on the premises in order for us to be able to have, or in order for the argument to continue. If you don't buy the premises, then the argument's done. Like, they have to stop. But they try to fucking play word games with you and stuff, but just reject the premise. That's what it is, But whatever.
Not for you to actually like go through the dialectic. You can call back next time we have more time. Only reason I wanted you to come up here was because I knew that you didn't have another argument to support the first premise, because no presuppositionalist does. And when they do, it's a question begging argument. So please call in, write it down. Don't just make stuff up on the spot, because one, the argument's going to be formally invalid. If you just start stringing together random sentences, thinking that you're using valid inference rules, like the coincidence that you end up using those inference rules correctly, pretty low,
what is it?
Right? Unless you're just using like
Craig, what's up, man? It said, if theists want to claim that everybody has some inherent responsibility or obligation to everyone else's welfare, then the burden of proof is on them to demonstrate that, isn't it? Yeah, I think so, right? If there's some inherent responsibility or obligation to everyone else's welfare, then the burden of proof. Yeah, they would need to demonstrate that. Although I feel like that, I guess not. I was going to say I feel like that's inherent, because everybody wants their well-being to be considered. But I don't know, that you're right. You might have to still make that argument. That's interesting. It's a good way to put it. But yeah, of course, whoever makes the claim has the burden of proof, right?
if then statements. So call back when you actually have taken the time to written an argument, and not just like, shit, I got to come up with something right now.
Well, damn, I kind of hoped that it was going to be a little bit more broken down, but, and explained. I can't remember where I went, and, after I think I'd watched some Jay Dyer or somebody, or maybe it was Dawkins. I can't remember. But I went and watched some philosophy, I guess philosophy 101 type video, which I would think would be coming up in this little thing. Oh my goodness, this is like a terrible fucking. This is not bringing up a whole lot. Like, I was hoping it would be like some more like an explanation, but where they have like the little cartoons, like little stick figures, like if a man is, and they have a trolley, and the trolley, you can change the track of the trolley from waiting one person to hitting five, whatever. One of those type of things. I'm not really seeing anything though. It's interesting. Oh wait. Oh no, that's the same one. Yeah, this is not bringing anything up. Anyway, but well, hey, thank you all so much for it. Oh, yeah, I do watch him every so often. Redeem Zoomer. That's the one. Yeah, everybody responded to that. That one. Michael said 6 dildos allowed in Texas. Cruz wrote that law. No, what? They have a dildo limit. You can have as many guns and explosives. But the dildos, though, that's where the real problems come from. We gotta cap it. We need a dildo cap. And I'm not talking about, well, but wow, holy shit. That makes good sense, actually. Well, I mean, here in Florida, they just fucking banned Pornhub. So yeah, so that's great. There's 50% of what I do all day. Just out the goddamn one. I'm just kidding. I go to X and XX anyway. I don't really care for the hub. You know what I mean? I feel like that one's kind of just it's a bit more low class. You know what I mean? Like it's not professional, and I need some good lighting. Okay, is my point. And in storylines, right? You need some good storylines, right? That's very important to the plot. It needs to be a progressive. Anyway, you need 3 acts. And we all know what happens in the 3rd act. I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. But yeah. Oh, they got to be concealed. No, you're allowed to have them. They just have to be concealed, and there needs to be a 3-step process of getting it out of the case, lubing it up, and then ramming it in there. Jesus Christ. Carrie said, it's truly absurd to be passing laws about sex toys. For fuck, I know, absolutely, 100%. So Michael says more about Cruz, in my opinion. Fuck yeah, dude. Absolutely. It's like, I cannot be trusted to have too many dildos around. I don't know why. That's his impression. I'll get better. But yeah, that's a they always end up in my ass when they're around. I don't know why he sounds like John Wayne, but it's like that's what it's like. I wake up with dicks drawn on my face and a dildo in my butt. So I gotta have a 6 dildo limit because that gets deep in there after a while. You know, I can only handle so much. You know, it's all the way up to my stomach. It's just not. You know, I had to get a surgery. Grand Theft Autobot said, "Open carry dildo." Open carry dildo. Jesus Christ, what is happening? To invest in CPI or VPN. Oh, that's right. I actually need. It's funny too. We were just talking about that. I was like looking into it. I think I might actually move. Not from. I'm still going to do AdamandEve.com too, but I am going to look into like doing a VPN company if they'll have me. You know, advertisers don't tend to like my content very much. I don't know why. I don't know what the problem is, but they seem to have some problem with it. But whatever. Let's see. Ember said, the hub is more of a YouTube type platform. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it's like you put up your own stuff. That's what I'm saying. Right. And so it's a lot of just the cameras up on the wall. The camera falls over a lot of times. You know, it's a mess. It's a mess. And, you know, a lot of people wearing masks. And that just takes me right out of it. And like, what is this? Eyes wide shut? What the fuck is happening? You know, it takes me. It's like, I can't have it. But yeah. It's a you porn, basically, you know. Carrie said, I was missing you in the chat. I thought I was gonna say, like I said, I've been having trouble keeping up with the chat today because of I've been having trouble lately just because there's so many of everybody here, which is great. That's a great problem to have. But you know, it's a lot for me to try to keep up with. So, you know, super chats. That's what I'm gonna I hate to be like that. Like that's not typically how I roll, but I'm getting overwhelmed here. That seems to be where we're going to have to go eventually. But let's see. Gisela said, I hope I'll get my real internet back tomorrow. What you got the fake kind? Yeah, sucks having to use that pretend internet. Surprised it's working so well, given that it's pretend for you to be here in the first place. But glad you're here. You know, on the Pandora's, what's up? How are you doing? Glad you made it. So VPN provider. Advertising on YouTube are rubbish anyway. Oh, really? They're rubbish? What's rubbish about them? They don't work good. They don't work as good as non-YouTube advertise. I don't know where I would find other guys. I don't know. I don't know much about VPNs. I'm gonna be honest. But yeah. Let's see. Ember said, "Hey, yeah, Carrie Ann." Oh, they're just talking in the side. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have pulled that one up. That was just a mistake there. I'm sorry. All right. Let's see. Like I said, I get overwhelmed here and I'm trying to keep up with everything. And I think, like I said, I've got that fog flu. The flog. No, I didn't get a flog. I got the fog flu. Yeah, that's the one. I said it right. Greg said, it's a good problem to have. Luke being too tired from having too much sex. Like being tired. Said Luke. Luke is always having sex. That dude is sexy. Okay. Yeah, Luke is wow. Have you seen him? He almost looks as hot as Derek Lambert. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Which we all know is the hottest person in the entire community. Just full stop. And I don't think I'd get any pushback from anybody on that matter, you know. But anyway, like being too tired from having too much sex. Yeah. Not a bad problem to have. That's right. That's right. It's awesome. It's a great problem. It's my favorite problem. Let's see. Giselle said, it's not Wi-Fi. I have to use my phone. Oh, okay. Oh, yep. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Of course. Shasta said the Holy Spirit is carrying the packets back and forth. Packets. What packets? The sugar packets for the coffee.
that they need that. I have no idea what's that. I was going to make up a whole thing and then I just stopped. It's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to just sidebar into a whole fucking made up thing. But sexy Luke. What are you talking? What do you mean? Who? What, the sexiest Luke on earth? Who do you think of? That you know exactly who I'm thinking of. I'm just kidding. I just want everybody. What? Who? What? Is there a sexy Luke? Who am I supposed to be thinking of right now? I don't know. Beasley? He's pretty cute. You know, if you like that type, you know, he probably could use a tan or something. Maybe do something with the redness of the cheeks, because I feel like he needs a tan. That's what it is. He needs to go to Florida, get a tan. But all right, y'all. Like, you laughing at me now? You think that's funny? Maya's over here just laughing at people. Rude. You're probably pointing too. She's just there pointing at a computer, laughing at it. It's rude. All right. I've reached the bottom of my intellectual barrel, and I'm just like deciding that people are laughing at me. But no, thank y'all so much for hanging out. This is a lot of fun. And I have made it officially over 2 fucking hours. That's right. I can do 2 hours sometimes. I'm like drenched in sweat and everything, but hey, I did it. I made it. All right. Goal achieved. That's all I'm saying. And if you want your goal to be achieved sexually, go to adamandeve.com. Enter that code word Brentley at checkout. Brentley's my name. That's who I am. Just to, I don't know if, you know, they're like, somebody's like, why is there a random Brentley? What even is that? That's my name. So go to adamandeve.com, enter code word my name, Brentley, at checkout, and get your exclusive offer, right? Which is 50% off almost any one item, 6 free movies, 3 free gifts, and free shipping on the whole order. And man, adamandeve.com is America's #1 sex toy dispensary. They've got everything from lubes to BDSM toys and everything in between. And there's a lot in between, if you know what I mean. Okay. So yeah, go to adamandeve.com, enter code word Brentley at checkout. Get your exclusive offer and get your butt some stuff. Also, if you want to like, that'd be great. I can't believe I'm so bad at this YouTube thing. You know, all the basic YouTube things I'm supposed to do. It eludes me every time. If you want to hit that like button, I'd appreciate it. You know, it's just right there below the screen. Thank you. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Also, if you want to support us, you can support us by supporting our sponsor, adamandeve.com, or you can do a bunch of other shit, right? Like if you want to become a patron, we have patreon.com/Punk Apostate, and I got all sorts of shit up there from like old projects and stuff like that. It's like old podcasts and things anyway, but also got conversations like with SR, who I'm going to be having back pretty soon. And so we're going to have another conversation about Christian nationalism, but I also have another conversation with Ian Harris up there, and that's the only place you can get them. So if you want to do that and go to become a patron, but the best way probably is to hit that join button, right? And then you can become a member and you can get all of the extra content every single week. You get an extra live stream. But yeah, also you can email me if you want to follow me on Discord. You can hang out in there. It's a lot of fun. And you can follow me on all the socials. But thank y'all so much for everything, seriously. And but hey, the main thing though is to stay logical, loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we will see you next time.